Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're doing JMA Friday today, having a look at the weather for next month with the Japanese and CFS V2 models. It's going to take us into July, so we'll be going off into the second month of summer 2016 with this update. Just say the links to both Japanese and CFS models can be found on the links page, so you can see these charts for yourself if you would like to do that. So before we get on with the video, just say about the ads. There's links to articles on all the pages. Have a browse through the widgets and click through the links if there's any articles that you are interested in. Thanks very much for doing that. This video adds to most pages. They own that content. When you watch them, they close back up again, and it helps to pay for our website. Later on, we'll be doing the first update for the Glastonbury Festival. That'll be this evening. The first video update. There's been a couple of written posts, but the first video for the Glastonbury Festival will be coming up this evening. So if you're interested in the weather for that, come back around 7 o'clock tonight. Right, let's get on with the update for the next month from the Japanese CFS models. We're going to start off 500 bit of our height anomalies, broke down into weekly periods, looking down from the North Pole down into the mid-latitude. So this is the North Pole somewhere around here, and this is the UK and Western Europe down here. So these broke down to week periods. The first week period taking us from the 10th through to 17th of June, the week that we are currently in. Blue extrapolates to low pressure, and the brighter colours, yellow, orange, and occasionally red, extrapolates to high pressure. So the coming week looks really quite unsettled. We've got quite a big trough here in the Atlantic and extending to the east of the country as well. The jet stream is going a bit to the south. That looks rather cool and rather wet, I have to say. Very unsettled conditions coming through there for the week from the 10th through to the 17th of June. Real Atlantic flow. We move through to the next week, which is the 17th through to 24th of June. Still looks quite unsettled. Trough to the east, trough to the west, but we are getting a bit of an influence from the Azores high, so that's trying to ridge up from the south. I haven't got a bit of north block. It's a very messy picture actually, but I think essentially what's going on is that we are being broken out of this trough of low pressure as a ridge is extending up with the jet stream going a bit like that. So I would suspect that's an improving week, probably or maybe starting off quite unsettled, cool and wet, and then maybe trending actually a little bit drier and warmer as we get towards the latter stage of that period. Bit transitional. And then week 3 and week 4, going from the 24th of June through to the 8th of July. Well, it's very difficult to decipher much from this. It doesn't really show a great deal going on. I think the jet stream is probably coming through the country a bit like that. There's no real area of above average height, so no real area of below average height. So I don't think we better dwell on that too long. We can't really make much out from that. Instead, we'll have a look at the mid-latitude view from the JMA model and see how the temperature and precipitation anomalies are stacking up over the next month. So the British Isles is just here on this chart in the far top right-hand corner of the chart as you are looking at it. Again, starting off with the 500 millibar height anomalies for the week from the 10th through to the 17th, so the coming week. And we have a trough of low pressure over the UK, as we know, and out to the west and also out to the east. So it does look very unsettled. Let's have a look at the precipitation. And unsurprisingly, that's coming out above average. So quite a wet week coming up. And temperatures, they're going a bit below average as well for the coming week. So it does look rather cool and rather unsettled, to say the least, for the week ahead. Week 2, which is the 17th through to 24th, that shows a bit of an improvement. I think we're starting to break out of the low pressure somewhat as this ridge is building to the southwest. And the jet stream is probably coming a bit further north as well, a bit like that. So precipitation, again, it's coming out wetter than average. So this is probably a transitional though. It may start off quite unsettled and wet and then maybe transition to something a little bit drier later. Temperatures, they're recovering a little bit as that influence from the Azores high starts to exert itself. Temperatures begin to lift up as the jet stream begins to move north. So overall, improving picture with the temperatures. They're lifting up a bit, but still quite unsettled. And then week 3 and week 4, remember we couldn't make anything out of the height anomaly, really. That's how it's looking just there. So I suppose a little bit above average, you would say, in terms of the heights, but no real suggestion of a ridge of high pressure or a trough of low pressure. But let's see what the temperatures and precipitation are doing anyway through this 2-weekly period from the 24th of June through to the 8th of July. And precipitation is going a bit drier than average in the south, still a little bit wetter than average in the north. And temperatures, they are generally looking above average through that 2-weekly period going into July. So it becomes warmer than average and it turns drier. Maybe a slow old process, but I think the general trend from the JMA model is to gradually build up a ridge, some sort of ridge, and turn it a bit drier and warmer into the very end of June and start of July. That's how I would interpret where the JMA is going there. Let's see what CFS V2 is doing. And again, these are 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods. The first week period will take us from the 10th through to the 16th of June. Very, very similar to what was just looking at from the JMA, with a deep trough here around west and north of Europe, into the UK, into the Atlantic, and going well out into the central part of the Atlantic Ocean as well. The jet stream is a bit to the south of us, so it looks cool and it looks unsettled through this weekly period. We go through to the next week period, which is the 17th through 23rd of June. And very similar, again, to what the JMA is trying to do, because it's building this ridge out to the west of us with this trough gradually moving towards the east into central parts of Europe. This is probably quite cool, probably still quite unsettled as well, with the flow going a bit like that. But with time, I would suspect this influence from the ridge in the Atlantic starts to become more pronounced. So probably starting off very unsettled and slowly becoming a progression taking place to become a little drier and maybe a little warmer later on. Week 3 from the 24th through to the 30th of June. This looks quite unsettled actually. Trough of low pressures out to west. So this is in disagreement now with the JMA. The jet stream coming through the country like that. So this implies quite an unsettled second half to June, actually, taking it all together. It does probably come out with quite an unsettled June, really, and especially in the second half. And then week 4, which takes into July, this is the 1st through to the 7th of July, the trough is weakening and moving out into the central Atlantic as this ridge builds over Scandinavia. So that could be really quite warm, actually. You could find the flow going a bit like that, going into the east. And easterlies in July are going to be very warm, if not hot, because the air will rapidly warm over the continent. So maybe signs of a hot spell there in the early part of July. Long way off, of course. Temperatures then, the temperature anomalies looking like this for coming week. This shows generally above average temperature anomalies. For JMA wants it to be a bit below average, so there's a bit of a discrepancy there actually for the coming week. I would suspect temperatures probably, it's hard to say really, because daytime temperatures, if it's raining at this time of year, will tend to be quite cool, but of course nighttime temperatures, if it's cloudy and wet, nighttime temperatures are going to hold up very well. So you can actually have a surprisingly warm average temperature in the summer with an unsettled weather pattern. It just depends exactly where the air is originated from. So not impossible that it could come out warmer than average, even though it's a very unsettled week coming up. Week 2, that one goes cooler than average. Temperatures go below average then. Week 3 looks around or maybe a little bit below average again. So that takes us to the end of June on a cooler than average note. And then week 4, again the 1st through to 7th of July, temperatures probably implying that they go a little bit above average through that period. So as the pressure builds over Scandinavia, the wind turns into the east, starts to drag in hotter air from off the continent. And then finally, precipitation for the next month, so the coming week, looks significantly wetter than average from the 10th through to 16th of June. Week 2, which is the 17th to 23rd of June, looks drier. That's as the ridge is building out to the west of us, of course. So a little bit drier there, although the temperatures do take a dip. Week 3, that just looks average. I think we're losing the signal now, as we often do with these charts in week 3 and week 4. So just average precipitation, as we see for week 4 as well, that first week of July. I think generally as you get through to week 3 and week 4 with CFSV2, the model kind of loses its signal a bit. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, this update. It certainly looks very changeable for the coming week, and then trying to get a little bit better perhaps, but the CFS looks generally really quite unsettled even through to the end of June. There may be hints of something a bit hotter coming along through into the start of July. All very highly experimental, of course. Tomorrow we'll be using tried and tested models, short-range models, for the week ahead forecast. So come back for that tomorrow. And of course, later on this evening, all the Glastonbury updates start kicking off. So if you're interested in weather for Glastonbury Festival, that'll be with you this evening around 7 o'clock. Right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.